I kissed my sworn enemy in front of 1,000 cameras, and the whole world thought I'd lost my mind. The red carpet went dead silent. Camera flashes kept firing, but nobody in that crowd was breathing, because the woman in my arms was Chi Ching Ru, the untouchable eldest daughter of the Chi family. The woman I had hated since I was old enough to hate anything, and she had just slipped her family's heirloom ring onto my finger. On the wrong hand. "You put it on the wrong finger, hubby," she said, loud enough for every microphone in a 10-foot radius to catch it. The internet exploded before I even got my next breath out. Has Chen lost his mind trying to get famous? First he hit Xi before the stream even started, now he's forcing himself on the eldest Miss Chi. This eldest miss is famously known for keeping men at a distance. She doesn't even give her own longtime admirer the time of day. Who does he think he is? He's got a death wish. Someone call security. But nobody in that comment section knew the truth. Nobody knew that 3 seconds earlier in my head I had been living an entirely different life. A life where I died in a fire with my face and voice destroyed, hated and shunned by everyone who used to smile at me. Except her. Except the one person the whole world swore hated me most. In my past life she held me while I was dying and whispered against my ear, cold lips pressed to my skin, begging me hoarsely to love her. And I screamed it back at her with my last breath. She never heard it. She was already gone by the time the words came out. So when I opened my eyes and found myself standing on a red carpet, young again, whole again, staring at Chi Ching Ru leaning against her car with that peerless, untouchable beauty of hers, I didn't think. I ran. I sprinted across an entire red carpet just to tell her I loved her, before she'd even heard the words the first time. Let me back up. Chi Ching Ru and I have hated each other since childhood. Not the fake kind of rivalry people cook up for social media. The real, bone-deep kind. I liked a girl named Humomo my entire life. And Himomo hated Chi Ching Ru with a passion, so out of sheer blind loyalty I hated her too. Wherever Chi Ching Ru appeared, I made sure everyone knew she wasn't welcome. It was petty, it was constant. And apparently, according to the version of events I lived through and died in, it was also a lie I told myself for years. Back on the red carpet, my manager Sanyu looked like his eyeballs were about to pop out of his skull. He was one of the few people who actually understood how outrageously bad my relationship with Chi Ching Ru really was. Wherever she went, I didn't need air freshener, that's how much I couldn't stand her. So when I sprinted across that carpet and kissed her cold, he assumed exactly what everyone else assumed, that I'd finally cracked trying to go viral. Not far away, a man named Xi stood with his hand still pressed to his own cheek from where I'd struck him minutes earlier, a mocking little smile creeping onto his face. He thought I was digging my own grave, and he intended to enjoy watching me fall into it. Chi Ching Ru's own bodyguards didn't even move to stop me. She'd shut them down with a single look before I got within 10 feet of her, like she already suspected what I was about to do and wanted to watch it unfold for herself. She'd assumed I was there to humiliate her one more time. A new trick from the exiled young master, freshly disowned by his own family. Instead, she watched me lower my eyes and press my lips to hers. When I pulled back, I said her name like it was the only word I had left. Ching Ru. I love you. Her mind went completely blank with a static buzzing sound. She'd expected mockery. She'd expected me to grab her by the throat, metaphorically speaking, the way I always did. Instead, I was looking at her like she was something I'd lost and spent a lifetime trying to find again. Everyone in that crowd waited for the slap. It's what she was famous for, cold, aloof, merciless to anyone foolish enough to cross her. Instead, she reached up and stroked my cheek, gentle, like I was something fragile that might shatter if she pressed too hard. What's wrong, Chen? What happened? The whispers in the crowd curdled into confusion. The live stream crashed from sheer viewer overload, everyone trying to refresh the same broken feed at once. When it finally came back online, the algorithm had already decided this was the story of the year. Someone dropped a comment that read, "Just wait. Once Miss Chi comes to her senses, Chen is going to die a miserable death." Nobody in that chat had any idea how wrong they were about to be. She got me into her car, a spacious silver Phantom, quiet, cold, exactly like her. I clung to her the entire ride like she might vanish if I let go of her waist. "I missed you," I kept saying, voice cracking. "Ching Ru, I missed you so much." She sat there, one hand pressed to my chest to keep some distance, trying to piece together what had happened to the boy she'd hated for as long as she could remember. "Do you have amnesia?" she finally asked, tone flat and unreadable. "Or are your memories just completely messed up and you've got the wrong person?" I told her I hadn't gotten the wrong person. I told her I knew exactly who she was, and that she was mine. That was the part she couldn't wrap her head around, because the version of me she'd grown up despising would rather choke than admit anything close to affection for her. she reminded me, sharp and pointed, exactly what I'd said to her that very morning in the clubhouse elevator. Something rude about needing to spray air freshener because she'd been standing in it seconds before. I didn't even flinch. I told her, with total sincerity, that I didn't remember saying that at all, and I meant it because the man who'd said it wasn't the man sitting beside her anymore. "Then what will it take for you to let me go?" she finally asked, exasperated. "Kiss me," I said. "Kiss me and let me know you're real." She almost said yes right there in the back seat, her gaze dropping to my mouth before she caught herself and gritted out, "In your dreams." Instead, shoving me back with a huff. I dropped my head, playing wounded, and I could practically feel the driver's ears perking up in the front seat, biting back a grin the whole ride. She decided I must be scheming. She assumed I was trying to make my old crush, Momo, jealous, since Momo was mere days away from proposing to her own longtime admirer at a family banquet. Chi Ching Ru ordered her driver to head straight for the psychiatric hospital instead, muttering that she'd give me one last chance to confess what nonsense I was really up to before I lost the right to ever come out again. I let her take me. If pretending to have lost my memory bought me time to earn her trust without dragging up a rebirth story nobody on earth would believe, that was a price I'd happily pay 1,000 times over. And somewhere in the back of my mind, I was already counting down the hours until the version of events I remembered, a rival family's engagement rumor engineered to smear her overnight, a bitter ex-suitor's public post daring me to reap what I sow, came due. I had to get ahead of it before it ever left the launch pad. At the hospital, doctors ran every test they had. Physically, nothing was wrong with me. When the psychiatric evaluation came back, the doctor, someone who clearly knew Chi Ching Ru personally, handed over the paperwork with a strange smile that made her face go through several complicated emotions at once. "Lovesick," she read aloud, staring at the report like it had personally betrayed her. "It says his mental state is normal. He's just lovesick." I looked overjoyed. She looked like she genuinely couldn't decide whether to laugh or throw the clipboard at my head. "Actually," I told her on the elevator ride down, leaning against the mirrored wall, "I've always liked you. It's not like I suddenly fell for you today." She went quiet for a long moment, visibly confused by what always was even supposed to mean coming from someone who'd spent years being ice cold to her, then accused me of playing the victim just to dodge the real conversation. I didn't argue the point. I just told her my leg hurt and asked her to help me stand, hoping the excuse would keep her close a little longer. She scoffed, called me shameless, and helped me up anyway. That night, back at the apartment tower where our families kept residences, hers upstairs, mine down, because it turned out she'd secretly had someone rent it to my manager at a steep discount without me ever knowing whose building I was living in. I stood outside her door like a stray animal asking to be let in from the rain. "Can I stay here tonight?" "Have some restraint," she said, and shut the door in my face without an ounce of hesitation. I went home wearing the biggest smile of my life anyway, because in my past life, restraint was never something she extended to me, not once. This version of her, careful and gentle and drawing lines she actually respected, was something entirely new. This was real, and it was better than anything I remembered. The next morning at breakfast, my adopted cat Mao Chu went completely feral the second he laid eyes on me, fur standing straight up, back arched, hissing like he'd seen a ghost walk through the front door. In my past life, Mao Chu died in the very fire that killed me. Now he wouldn't come within 3 feet of me, but the second Chi Ching Ru walked into the room, he melted into her lap like they were old dear friends, purring, rubbing his head against her hand like nothing in the world was wrong. It turned out she was the one who'd gifted him to me years ago, completely anonymous, nothing but a card at my door that read "Happy Birthday" in handwriting I never traced. I'd never known who sent him. She'd known the entire time and never said a word. "Maybe it's not the cat's problem," she said quietly, watching him hiss at me again from the safety of her arms. "Maybe it's the problem of the man standing in front of me." I laughed it off, calling him an ungrateful little furball I'd raised through blood, sweat, and tears for years. Inside, my stomach dropped straight through the floor because she was standing far closer to the truth than she realized. That evening, she asked me point blank whether I was engaged to a man named Su Mu-hei, someone the entire social circle assumed she'd eventually marry, since our two families had arranged a single introductory meeting between them once, one she'd flatly and immediately rejected. I remembered, from my past life, that a rumor about their supposed engagement was set to hit every trending topic the very next morning, engineered entirely by a jealous ex-suitor's public post daring the internet to believe he who commits many injustices is doomed to ruin, a post aimed squarely, viciously, at me. I couldn't let that happen a second time. "I already have a fiancé," she posted herself before dawn, photos of nothing yet, but the words alone and my name attached beside hers were enough to stop the rumor cold in its tracks before it ever found oxygen. The banquet at her family's hotel that night was where things really turned. Himomo showed up expecting me to abandon Chi Ching Ru the instant she crooked one finger in my direction, the way I always used to without fail. Instead, I sat across the room with Chi Ching Ru's fingers laced through mine, and when Momo demanded I come to her immediately, I said flatly in front of the entire hall, "I don't know her. I'm not going." Himomo's confidence cracked in real time right there in front of dozens of witnesses. She'd spent years treating me with calculated coldness on purpose, utterly convinced I'd come crawling back the second she snapped her fingers, certain that Chi Ching Ru, the woman her own longtime admirer had quietly worshipped from afar for years, would never so much as glance at someone like me. Her friend Sutian tried baiting me into rushing to Momo's defense, shouting across the room that someone was bullying her and demanding I step in immediately. I kept my eyes down and said absolutely nothing. A woman named Song Wanwan physically planted herself between Momo and our table, arms crossed, refusing to budge no matter how many fingers got pointed in her face. Watching Chi Ching Ru's fingers stay wrapped around mine in front of the entire banquet hall broke something in Momo's carefully maintained composure that she clearly hadn't planned on losing tonight. I pretended my leg had suddenly cramped up, just so Chi Ching Ru would have to help me stand in front of everyone watching, sealing the moment permanently into the room's memory. She didn't hesitate for a second. She draped my arm over her shoulder and walked me out like she'd been doing exactly this her entire life, completely ignoring Himomo's furious demand to know where she thought she was taking me. That night, back at her apartment, she pulled me down onto the sofa for a confession that felt more real than anything else that had happened all week. The true reason she'd rushed to defend me during a drugging incident weeks earlier. The actual story behind the family ring. The real weight of 10 straight years spent being labeled her family's bitter rival while secretly hoping every single time that I'd finally look at her the way I finally was now. She admitted, quietly, that she'd once asked me outright, half joking to cover the ache underneath it, exactly what I saw in Himomo that she supposedly lacked. My answer back then apparently had simply been that I didn't have those kinds of feelings for her. Hearing her repeat it back to me in that quiet apartment hurt more than I expected, because I remembered saying exactly that. I just hadn't understood, until now, what it must have cost her to ask the question in the first place. Then she asked me the one question that actually mattered. "Do you want to marry me? Right now. First thing tomorrow morning, we get the certificate." I said yes without a single second of hesitation. Within the hour, wedding planners and boutique staff were flooding into her living room with garment bags and jewelry cases, an entire custom collection built to my exact measurements that she'd apparently already had prepared and waiting just in case. The staff who arrived past midnight had spent the entire ride over grumbling about whoever was forcing a wedding together on such impossibly short notice, until they walked in, saw the two of us sitting shoulder to shoulder, and every ounce of their complaining instantly turned into barely restrained gossip. The staff at the Civil Affairs Bureau the next morning recognized us on site, clearly half expecting some kind of public meltdown given the trending topics still circulating. Instead, Chi Ching Ru reached over and straightened my crooked tie with the gentlest hands I had ever felt in either lifetime. And by the time we walked back out into the sunlight, we were both holding small red marriage booklets. The staff handed us a parting gift on our way out, wishing us a love that lasted a lifetime, and for one unguarded second, Chi Ching Ru's expression went softer than I had ever once seen it, in this life or the one before it. I posted the announcement myself before she could stop me. Photos of both certificates side by side. A caption reading, "No matter the time, no matter the season, we will never part until our hair turns white." The internet, which had spent an entire day calling me completely unhinged, flipped so hard and so fast it gave half the platform whiplash. That night, lying beside her in the dark, I had a nightmare about the fire, about Himomo's face twisted with fury, about a wine glass she'd personally pressed into my hand that turned out to be laced with something I never should have touched. I woke up drenched in cold sweat, hands flying to my own face just to make sure the scars weren't there. Chi Ching Ru was already awake, standing out on the balcony, pale and unusually quiet. When I asked why she was up so early, she wouldn't answer directly at first. She'd heard me talking in my sleep. She'd heard the fear cracking through my voice, my sister's, no, Momo's, name tangled up in the middle of it, and something in her had gone cold with suspicion she couldn't quite name yet. "Did Momo do something to you?" she finally asked, point blank, no room left to dodge it. I couldn't tell her the whole truth. Not the fire, not the death, not the rebirth. But as it turned out, I didn't need to. Because that very afternoon, at a family celebration banquet, Himomo was waiting for us out in the hallway, dressed to the nines, eyes burning with exactly the same venom I remembered from the life before this one. "Are you really going to be with her?" she demanded, voice shaking. "How am I not as good as her? I've done so much for you. Why do you never once look at me?" I pulled Chi Ching Ru protectively against my side and told Himomo, word for word, everything I remembered her doing, the rumors she'd spread, the wedges she'd deliberately driven between Chi Ching Ru and me, every manipulation from a life she never got the chance to finish ruining the first time around. I hadn't pursued any of it before now because I didn't want Chi Ching Ru dragged through the fallout. That never once meant I'd forgiven a single second of it. The evidence came out fast after that. Everyone Momo had bribed over the years confessed the moment real pressure finally landed on them, the paper trail far too damning to walk back. Her reputation collapsed overnight. Every connection she'd leaned on for years scattered the instant her schemes went public. Every person who'd once called themselves her friend quietly vanishing without a word. She ended up with absolutely nothing and no one left standing beside her. Precisely the ending she'd once tried so hard to write for someone else. Chi Ching Ru looked up at me like the very last piece of a long, complicated puzzle had finally clicked into place. "The problem is solved," I told her. "No one can bother us anymore." Her eyes were bright, catching the light like stars for the first time in years. "There won't be any more of this," she said, half to herself. "Right," I told her, meaning every word. "For the rest of our lives, there will only be peace and fulfillment." A few days later, our wedding happened exactly as planned. The venue was drowning in flowers, warm sunlight pouring over rows of seats filled with people who had actually stood beside us through the whole mess. Friends who never once doubted us, family who watched the entire disaster unfold in public and stayed anyway. Even strangers we'd quietly helped along the way who showed up simply to say thank you. Gratitude written plainly across every face in the crowd. I stood at the end of that sea of flowers in a sharp tuxedo, and when Chi Ching Ru walked toward me in white, every ounce of noise in the world simply disappeared. She was the only thing left in it, walking toward me step by step, her eyes holding more light in them than the sky above us ever could. I took her hand and told her the truth this time, with nothing performed underneath it. In the past, I weathered every storm completely alone. I saw the malice the world had to offer and tasted every bit of its bitterness. I thought the rest of my life would be nothing but that same dull loneliness, until I met you. You taught me how to be gentle. You gave me someone worth caring for. You showed me what it means to be favored, what it means to finally be complete. Today I take you as my wife. Through every year, every morning, and every dusk from here forward, I will protect you, treat you with tenderness, spoil you for a lifetime, and never once let you down. Her eyes went red at the edges, not from sadness this time. "The rest of our lives is long," she said, voice steady. "I only want to stay by Chen's side, depending on each other year after year." I slid the ring onto the correct finger this time and pulled my bride into a tight embrace as thunderous applause rolled through the entire venue, voices of blessing rising one after another. The warmth on our faces wasn't only from the sun overhead, the fire that ended my last life, the 10-year family grudge Himomo had used to justify years of quiet cruelty, the rumor mill that tried tearing Chi Ching Ru and me apart before we'd even had a real chance to find each other properly, all of it, finished for good. Nothing left hanging, nothing waiting in the wings for a second act. The storms had genuinely passed, and everything, finally, was exactly right. Because sometimes the person you spent your whole life hating was never really your enemy at all. Sometimes they were the only one who loved you enough to wait through every wrong version of you it took to finally get it right. And once you find that, you don't let go of it twice.